Every man who fixes a broken woman learns this lesson the hard way, not because he was weak, but because he was useful. The air feels heavier when you hear that sentence. Jaw tightens. Fingers go still. You already know where this is going, and you don't want it to be true. What I'm about to tell you isn't comforting, it's corrective. If you misread this truth, life doesn't punish you loudly. It erodes you quietly. You didn't lose her by being insufficient. You lost her by completing the job, and that's when the air shifted. This is the part men pretend didn't hurt, the part they minimize, the part they reframe as growth so they don't have to feel it properly. You met her when she didn't trust anyone, when her voice shook during conflict, when her past still lived in her shoulders and her sleep, when every disagreement felt like a threat to her nervous system. You didn't run, you didn't escalate, you didn't weaponize her wounds, you stayed calm, you stayed regulated, you listened when others told her to just get over it. And somewhere between patience and presence, something subtle happened, something dangerous. I can handle this. If I love her right, she'll be different. You didn't say it out loud, you didn't even think it consciously, but your body moved into position. You felt colder, but sharper. Because restraint started replacing desire, because leadership started replacing hunger. You became stable, predictable, safe. Notice how your chest tightened just now. The room felt different all of a sudden. Here's what no one tells you. Healing creates movement, not loyalty. All human nature moves toward expansion. Every nervous system seeks relief first, and stimulation second. When someone is wounded, they seek containment. They want calm. They want predictability. They want someone whose presence lowers their heart rate. That was you. You were the container. Calm, regulated, consistent. But once she stabilized, the instinct wasn't to stay, it was to explore. This isn't betrayal, it's momentum, and no one escapes momentum without awareness. She didn't choose you because you were exciting, she chose you because you were non-threatening. Your steadiness lowered her defenses, your emotional fluency slowed her breathing, your consistency retrained her baseline. You became a psychological safe room, and safe rooms aren't destinations, they're transitional spaces. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked. No one tells men this because it sounds cruel, but many women don't fall in love with the healer, they lean on him. He's the emotional infrastructure. He absorbs the overflow. He stabilizes the system when it's under stress, and once the system is stable, the infrastructure fades into the background. Desired men are felt. Healers are relied on. Those are not the same lane. The room held its breath. You weren't fixing her. You were reconditioning her tolerance. You weren't her partner. You were the brace. Necessary during injury. Restrictive during recovery. Removed once strength returns. The brace doesn't get thanked. It gets taken off. And if the brace confuses necessity for attachment, it shatters when the weight shifts. And right when you think it's over, it isn't. Because here's the delayed part most men never notice. She didn't leave because you failed. She left because the dynamic expired. While you were focused on keeping things healthy, her internal compass was recalibrating. Trauma bonded her to calm. Healing reintroduced appetite. And appetite doesn't negotiate with gratitude. By the time you sensed distance, the decision had already been rehearsed in silence. You were still performing maintenance on a structure she had mentally vacated. The silence changed before the truth did. The thrill she chased wasn't chaos, it was contrast. Men here, she wanted excitement, and imagine recklessness. That's not what this was. After months or years of regulated safety, her nervous system wanted a new signal, someone less readable, less available, less invested. Not because it's healthier, but because novelty spikes sensation. And sensation feels like aliveness when someone's just finished surviving. I could feel something inside me turning. You trained her how to be loved, just not how to love you back. Read that again internally. You modeled patience, emotional literacy, boundaries, repair. You taught her what consistency feels like, what safety feels like, what a calm masculine presence feels like. But teaching someone to receive doesn't guarantee they'll reciprocate, especially when the relationship was asymmetrical from the start. She was learning. You were giving. She was rebuilding. You were maintaining. That imbalance doesn't correct itself. It concludes. Air thick, jaw pressure increasing, fingers completely still. Men who heal women often postpone their own reckoning. Here's the part you always hide. While you were focused on stabilizing her, you delayed asking harder questions about yourself. Your ambition softened, your edge dulled, your hunger got redirected into management. You mistook being needed for being chosen, and that trade feels noble until the need disappears. Then you're left staring at your own stagnation. You'll replay this part without meaning to. So what's the correction? Not bitterness, not withdrawal, not turning cold and performative, masculine clarity. Understanding that your role is not to rehabilitate. You are not here to be a rehabilitation center. You're here to be a presence, grounded, directional, self-respecting. Healthy love doesn't require self-erasure. It doesn't ask you to suspend polarity. It doesn't demand that you become invisible once the work is done. I'm tired of pretending men don't feel this. I'm tired of watching good men internalize endings that were never moral failures. This is the recalibration. Choose women who meet you regulated, not rescued. Who desire you before they depend on you. Who don't confuse safety with completion. If even one part of this felt like your life, you and I are built from the same scars. There's an exhale here. Let it happen. Say what hit you first. You didn't have to fix her. You chose to. Now you see what most men hide from. Picture yourself standing in that quiet room, finally choosing strength. No applause needed, no validation required, just a silent nod of understanding between men who've learned the cost.